Hello everyone, my name is Shaya. I want to tell you a story about my little sister, Holly, and the fact that she is not an ordinary child. And I was the first to know about it, saying it was something else. Well, I won't get ahead of myself. For now, just get ready and continue watching. My sister and I have always adored playing boyish games. We almost never had dolls, kids' makeup, and whenever our mom tried to make us wear pink dresses for special occasions, we protested. Holly and I always wore pants. We had a bunch of toy cars and fake guns. My dad felt like he was a father of 2 boys. He even built us a small house in the front yard for us to go crazy in it and not make a mess inside the main house. Holly is 4 years younger than me. I still remember the day when my mother disappeared somewhere for a couple of days and then came home with a baby in her arms. At first, I was not allowed to come close to her, but then she showed me how to behave, and since then I've always been by her side. Yes, I love my sister a lot, and she loves me back. I know that we have a special connection that no one else can understand except us. Her first word was Alia. That's what she called me, and I couldn't wait to see her first steps. There were times when she would fall off of the couch or stumble or fall off of the bike when we didn't have time to catch her, but she never cried. I knew then that I have the bravest little sister in the world. I remember one time, my mother took us to the hospital to get a vaccine. We were supposed to get a flu shot. We tried to explain to Holly that it would hurt a little, like a mosquito bite, but she didn't understand what we were talking about. And then a very loud scream was heard from the doctor's office. They'd been calming me down as best as they could. Yes, I was the one yelling, and my little sisters watched with interest at what the doctors were doing. My mom laughed a lot when she saw my red nose, and Holly tried to calm her older sister down and said in her own toddler language that everything would be fine. Well, that's what I thought in the beginning, and then the worst began to happen. That day, I woke up with a terrible toothache. Mom told me to go to the doctor, so we all went to the dentist. He examined me, and then he said that the tooth had become bad, and it was time to remove it, and I was extremely scared of that procedure. And no matter how they tried to explain that another strong, healthy tooth would appear instead, I could not gather my courage. Then I looked at Holly. She brought with her her favorite toy, a pony. She gave it to me and said it would help me. They took me into the office and tried to distract me with whatever they could. To be honest, the procedure turned out to be unpleasant for me anyway. I still felt a small amount of pain. When I went out into the corridor, my mom praised me for my courage. The doctor gave me a picture book and then handed me a clean tooth wrapped in a napkin. He told me to put it under my pillows so that the tooth fairy would come, take it, and leave a gift in return. I was very excited to hear this. We arrived home, and I immediately put the tooth under my pillow. Holly was fascinated watching me do this. She asked what kind of gift the fairy would bring me, and I said I didn't know. I wish she could bring another pony, Holly said. I laughed, and then promised that if she'd bring a pony, I would definitely give it to her. We all knew how much she loved those toys. A little later, we went downstairs for dinner. My dad kept praising me for my courage, and then even burst into tears and said that I'd become so big. Even my baby teeth began to fall out. That was very cute. We went to bed, and in the morning, I felt something under my pillow. Holly woke me up from the noise. She ran up to me to look at the gift, and as soon as I opened it, I squealed with joy. There was a watch. There was a watch that I had been telling my dad about for a long time. I really liked it, and I wanted to have it. I screamed so loud that I didn't notice how upset my little sister was. I tried to calm her down, and then asked why she was crying. Holly only said she was upset that the tooth fairy didn't bring her a pony. Honey, don't be upset. When your tooth falls out, the fairy will bring you a gift. Do not forget that she sees and remembers everything, so just wait, I told her. Holly wiped away her tears and then went down for breakfast. One day, Mom and Dad said that they would go buy groceries. This chore was too boring for my sister and me, so we decided to stay home. I had prepared several shows for us to watch, and we were both excited. We saw our parents leave and sat down in front of the TV. I wore my long-awaited watch on my wrist. I couldn't stop admiring it. And then suddenly, Holly got up and went somewhere. She said she needed to use the bathroom. Suddenly, I heard the phone ring. It was my friend Becky calling. We agreed to see each other in the evening. She was our neighbor. She lived in the house opposite to ours, so we'd been friends for almost my entire life. We even went to the same school. We talked for about 30 minutes, and then I went back into the living room, and when I arrived, I noticed that Holly was still not there. I went to the bathroom and knocked, asked if she was in there and if everything was all right. At first, Holly was silent. The water was running, and then she said that everything was fine and asked me to leave. "What are you doing there?" I asked, but Holly just mumbled something. I was so confused. Was she eating something? So I started knocking on the door, pushing it, demanding she opened it, but she did not obey. Then I threatened that I would call our parents, and Holly agreed to open it. When she opened the door, I saw her in front of me. She was standing barefoot on the tile, holding something small along with some tools in her hands. Holly silently stared into my eyes, and red liquid was dripping from her mouth. "Ah!" I shouted, and she got scared, hearing me scream, and she dropped everything, covered her face with her hands, and began to cry. I immediately hugged her to calm her down. While I was hugging her, I saw teeth on the floor. She pulled out her teeth. When I asked why she did it, Holly said that she wanted the tooth fairy to come and bring her gifts and toys. As soon as I heard this, I couldn't believe it. I was shocked. Luckily, our parents arrived at the exact moment. They too almost fainted from what they saw. My mother immediately called an ambulance, and they took Holly and my mom away. Dad was calming me down while I told him everything about what happened. He was so upset and then said that everything would be fine. But Mom and Holly didn't come home that day, or even the next. It turned out that everything was a little more serious than we had thought it would be. It wasn't that Holly pulled out her teeth, but that she didn't feel any pain. Only later on did we find out that she has a disease, a rare and congenital one. It has a difficult name, but in short, Holly is not sensitive to pain, which is why she was never afraid of needles or bruises. That is why she was always surprised whenever she saw me cry after falling, bumping my head or pinching my fingers. People don't usually notice, but feeling these sensations actually show that nothing is wrong with you. The worst thing is that this disease progresses over time and is very evil. The effects are not very pleasing. From very early on, we decided that Holly would be under the constant supervision of doctors, my parents, and myself. We do not yet know how the disease is treated and whether it is treatable at all, but we don't lose hope and believe in a good outcome. I'm waiting for the moment when my beloved sister will recover. But for now, we are always by her side and do everything to make her feel good. By the way, my mom and I bought her a pony, only this time we said it was from us. Have you guys ever heard of people like my sister? Tell us about how these people live and cope with the fact that they can accidentally harm themselves. I'd be very interested to hear about it. Thank you all very much for your attention. If you enjoyed the video, then please leave a like and comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe.
Hello everyone, my name is Konstantin. You know, all my adult life, I was like a machine. Do you know what Groundhog Day feels like? It's when you live out the same day every single day for many years. I had lived it until one day something strange happened. I asked you treat me with understanding. I can get nervous during the story, so I hope for your understanding. I was around 18 at the time, before going off to college. My mom noticed certain anxiety in me, which was understandable because entering college takes a lot of time and effort. I thoroughly prepared for my exams, and I had to do everything to get a scholarship because I knew that my family would not be able to pay full tuition. It was very expensive for us. So when day X finally came, I got ready, got dressed, barely had any breakfast, and had no appetite. But I understood that I needed to eat. I forced myself to eat and went to the exam. Mom had ironed my new white t-shirt and trousers beforehand. Dad wished me good luck and said that it was a bad sign. You cannot wish good luck, otherwise you can frighten it away. Exhaling, I opened the doors and walked into the room. A commission was sitting in front of me. I had no idea how all this happens. I was asked a couple of questions and I answered them brilliantly. And I asked another one and immediately felt my knees tremble. I didn't know the answer and I was being attacked. I felt like I was being crushed and the feeling of nausea came to my throat. As soon as I opened my mouth to say something, I vomited. Dad's phrase, good luck, sounded in my head. I freaked out, shouted that it was bad to wish good luck, and ran out of there. Red, dirty, everyone was shocked. I did not get in, which greatly upset my parents. After this incident, I fell into severe depression. There was nothing worse than not fulfilling your hope of your parents. I closed from everyone and hardly left the room for several months and nothing helped. Mom said that I still had a chance next year, and for now I needed to sort out my mental health. She signed up me for the therapist, Mr. Andrew, and I attended his sessions a couple of times a week. One time Mr. Andrew told me not to come to his office, as usual, but to another place where he has been working for many years. It was a mental hospital on the outskirts of their city. At first, it scared me. Then I decided that if I saw some crazy people there, maybe it would make things easier for me, and I decided to go. As soon as I arrived at the place, a high gate opened in front of me. There was a beautiful area where people walked around. There were men and women, girls and boys, and there were also my peers. I didn't quite understand what they were doing. I saw a girl staring at me. She looked like she was burning me with her eyes. 2 more were walking next to her. They all looked alike. These are our triplets. Poor girls suffer from schizophrenia. They hate newbies. They think you are one of them, Mr. Andrew told me. I looked away and went into his office. We went up to the 3rd floor and continued the session. He showed me pictures and asked what I see on them. He diagnosed me with chronic depression and prescribed some medication. The doctor warned that sometimes antidepressants have the opposite effect, more precisely, a side effect. Hallucinations, frustration, I can feel nauseous, etc. I took my meds and went downstairs. I wanted to sit down, pulled out those pills and had one. I had to take them strictly by the hour, immediately. I felt my body go numb, a familiar feeling of nausea rising to my throat. Are you among us now? The girl asked. I got scared. She sat down next to me and took my hand. She noticed my reaction and asked me not to be afraid. My name is Anna, and these are my sisters, Judy and Sarah. We're triplets, she said, pointing at her sisters. The girls surrounded me. One stood opposite me and the rest sat on both sides. I was so tense that I could not say a word. Judy calmed me down, stroked my head, and said that this was normal effect from the pills. Oddly enough, we sat and talked for a while. For some reason, it was very easy to share my feelings. I still can't forgive myself for not getting into that college. I feel guilty before my parents and I hate myself for it. They hoped on me. Unexpectedly for myself, I began to talk about my problems. Sarah said, "It's not your fault. He shouldn't have wished you luck." I was surprised because I didn't mention it. Sarah looked me in the eyes and asked me to get up. The girls invited me for a walk. We went out in the courtyard. With no one there, I stayed silent, and they told me stories about how they lived there. Anna said that they were hospitalized a long time ago because their parents died. They were 6 years old. They were first diagnosed with depression, but this was not the case. Actually, the girls were healthy. They just had nowhere to put them, and so they stayed in the hospital where they would not run away. We walked along the yard, and then they took me inside the building, then into the basement. My phone rang. I wanted to pick up. It was Dr. Andrew, but Anna abruptly grabbed the phone and told the doctor that I was now with them and threw the phone somewhere. They took me into a ward with no one there, gave me water, and then said they liked me. I said I had to go, got up and picked up my medication. Then Sarah ran up to me and asked to sit down. I began to resist her. Then the girls forcibly put me in a chair, tied my hands, and gave me more medicine. I didn't want to take it, but they made me. I felt calm again. My head was spinning. Somehow, my phone appeared in my pocket again. Sarah took it and said that it was my mom calling. I wanted to talk to her so badly, but the girls wouldn't let me. They said that I would never see her again because they stole me. What? What do you mean you stole me? I asked, shocked. Now you have to live here among us. You are the same as we are, the girls said at the same time, and laughed loudly. Their laughter hurt my ears. I wanted to get out. I tried to free myself, but I didn't have enough strength. Then Judy slapped my face. I shouted, "Help! I was kidnapped!" But no one heard me. Time there dragged on endlessly. I was hungry, thirsty, very tired. It seemed like 3 days passed. I was still tied up amongst these girls. Somewhere far away, I heard my mother's voice and wanted to hug her. On the 4th day, I cried violently. Sarah gave me medicine again, and my head was spinning. "Why do you need me? For what?" I asked them. The girls said that they would treat me. But that was funny, wasn't it? How can they treat me when they are sick themselves? I asked for food, water, and bathroom, but they said that I was wearing a diaper, so I could use that instead. What? What? I don't wear diapers. This is nonsense. Let me get up, I shouted. "Son, it's okay. I'm here. Do you hear me? Everything will be fine," Sarah spoke suddenly in the voice of my mother. Half conscious, I raised my head and saw my mom in front of me. She stood nearby and cried. I did not understand what was happening. "Mom, help. These drugs there, I have hallucinations. I was kidnapped. I didn't pass the exam," I said abruptly, but my mom continued to cry. Dr. Judy called Sarah and Anna. "We need to give the guy a sedative. He's out of his mind again," someone said. "But what is this? They're sick. They're not doctors. How can they treat me? Mom, are you with them on this?" I asked anxiously, but my mom came up to me, and I finally saw the room. I was no longer in a chair, but lying tied on the couch in a ward with my mom and dad standing above me, and the crazy people who stole me were up to something. "Dr. Judy will take care of you, and this is Mr. Andrew's student. They're good doctors. You will be cured," my mother told me. "Son, You lie still, and we will come soon. Good luck to you, my dad told me. Oh no, he wished me luck again. I turned my head and saw how they injected something in which I fell asleep. I was in treatment for a month. After the exam, I had a nervous breakdown, after which I admitted to the hospital. I was looked after by 3 doctors, Sarah, Judy, and Anna. They were sisters, as they assured nobody stole me. Well, who knows what the actual truth is, right? If you liked the video, then press the like button and leave us some comments. Don't forget to subscribe.